Hey YouTube. So today's topic is going to be basically about aging, but more generally about how we think of age and life cycles and milestones and life path and just some things related to that. Because I don't know, I thought this would be an interesting topic to talk about because I feel like I come from a different place from a lot of people on this. Or maybe not even a different place, but just I think a lot of people probably don't subscribe to our societal norms of aging, but then you end up having to kind of follow expectations regardless. So as a little preview to this, I asked folks a couple of videos ago to guess my age because I was just kind of honestly curious whether people think I look younger or older, about the same. Most of you were actually dead on or right in the range. I think somebody said a little younger, but I am 34. I'm turning 35 in March. And I asked this question because I think there's this weird thing where if somebody guesses your age in a more general setting, right? Or somebody says, "Oh, I thought you were younger," right? You're always supposed to say thank you, and you're always supposed to be offended if they say you're older. And I would say that especially applies to women or people perceived as women, but I don't even know if that's so much true anymore. I think I've noticed that like a lot of people are offended by asking about age or somebody guessing their age to be older than they are, regardless of gender. And I find this so weird. I often have to like remind myself that you're not supposed to ask people's age because sometimes it comes up and it's totally relevant. Like, you know, we're talking about something generationally and I'm like, you know what, I have no idea how old you are. How old are you? And then somebody's like, oh, well, you know, don't ask that. And I always have this pause where like I realize I'm supposed to thank people for thinking I'm younger, but it seems so weird. I'm like, I'm not like super pleased by that. It's just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So for a little background on this perspective, when I was a kid, I'm not sure what age. I feel like when I was really young, there was probably some period where I just assumed that I would like get married and have kids because that's what everybody assumes for a little while. But from quite an early age, I was very focused on myself and my like dream career, even though that changed many times. And I didn't think I would get married, and I didn't have any interest in kids. And but I would always say that I really, really wanted to be 35. Like my 35th birthday was this milestone I was really excited about from like as a kid onward. I wanted to be 35. For me, I had this idea of 35 as an age in which I would be settled, I would have a career, like if I had a relationship. And when I was younger, I did still believe in like monogamy and you know, one like probably the one soulmate thing, or at least very few soulmates. So I imagined I would be with whoever I was going to spend the rest of my life with, and that I would be financially stable, like all these things that I wanted. And I think even from a young age, baby cancer, safety and security and stability was really attractive to me. My parents, like I have one parent who is much more into financial security and like wise financial decisions. I shouldn't say that. Who prioritizes saving more. And I always wanted to be like that parent. I always like it seemed like a really, you know, thing to be proud of if you saved up your money and you know, you had a lot to retire on, which I realize now, of course, involves a lot of white privilege, a lot of assumptions about how the economy works, but as a kid, that's what I imagined. So 35 felt like an age where I would kind of be there and I'd be making it. And it's funny because like that never really totally went away. And so now I'm going to be 35 soon. And I'm like, it's kind of true. Like obviously that was a silly childish dream, and like not everybody actually, you know, is in that place when they're 35 or wants to be in that place, and people's views of success changed. As I mentioned, like the idea of being with a lifelong partner is no longer of any interest to me. But as far as like career stability, being in a happy place, being in like a relatively senior position and having financial security, like that happened. And I'm not necessarily giving myself a lot of credit for that. I think a lot of that is privilege, and a lot of that is being at the right place in the right time and various other things. But like, I do want to celebrate my 35th birthday in a big way. When I was younger, I always imagined, like, it annoyed me that the people who were going to get married were going to get a big party and everyone was going to bring them presents. And they got to even, like, create a registry and say what presents they wanted. That seemed really awesome. And I was like, that's not fair. So for a while, I imagined that I would just basically have a wedding for myself. Like, I was like, why can't I just rent a giant hall and have a registry and you know, give people food and drinks, and that would be my 35th birthday party. The past couple of years, I turned around from that idea because I realized I am an introvert. I don't actually like large parties. But I am planning to have, like, a big 35th birthday bash and to send out invitations in advance, probably this fall, and, like, you know, try to have all my dear people there and, like, pay for plane tickets if people need it so that I can, like, actually get all the people, or at least most of the people that I love dearly that live in different parts of the country in one place. And that is really cool for me. And I'm planning for it to be a party at my home, not a giant social event, but the same idea applies. So yeah, like, I think that as a goal, like, kind of says something about me, that before I had any sense of other sort of, like, alternate ways of thinking about relationships, or you know, polyamory, or like, just the idea that I hold very strongly now that the relationship escalator is kind of bullshit, and people relate to humans in all sorts of different ways and have all sorts of different family structures, and kind of gloss that over. Before I understood any of that, had any of that, those ideas, like, I did have the idea that marriage was not going to be the center of my life, that I wanted to be able to celebrate my own accomplishments, and not in a bootstrappy way necessarily, but just in a, like, I think it's okay to celebrate yourself. And related to that, I think it's okay to celebrate yourself at various ages along the life cycle. I don't think, you know, the idea that we should be offended when people think we're older, I kind of take it as a compliment. People think people think I'm more mature. People very rarely actually think I'm older, but if they said that, I would think, great, they think I'm more mature than I am, or than my chronological age. So yeah, I mean, and part of it is the whole, like, you know, wisdom and respecting our elders and all that stuff. But, you know, I think that, like, life experience brings a lot of great things, and it's weird that we put youth on this pedestal. Like, I think most of us, even if we take it as a compliment when people say that we're younger than we are, like, most of us wouldn't want to go back. You know, most of us aren't like, oh my gosh, you know, when I was 16 or 21. And those who are might have a shitty life right now, like, maybe not, but I can imagine a lot of the folks who were super popular and, like, loved high school, like, if that was the best time of your life, then, like, I feel bad for you, honestly. You know, I'm, like, forward thinking. I'm, to some extent, a bit of a futurist, and I do, like, I get excited about what comes next in my life, and setting goals, and changing my patterns and perspectives. And, like, one of the reasons that I really like tarot and other practices like that is the chance to, like, do shadow work and interrogate my beliefs and practices and patterns, and for those to change over time. And I get really excited about that, and part of that is that time passing and my age going up. I have started to, you know, worry is not maybe the word, but, like, worry in a low-key way, a little bit about what my approach to relationships and social stuff means for my older years. I mean, I think, you know, if you don't have kids and you don't intend to be in any particular relationship for a long time, and you're not a very social person, and, like, keeping close social ties stresses you out, then it is a little scary to think about what happens if you don't have that support, and that support is important to aging, from all the research I've seen. And so, like, that makes me a little nervous, and in some ways I guess I'm trying to, like, save responsibly so that I can pay for that support, and that's maybe not the best approach, but I don't dread aging, and I don't dread dying. I mean, I've always been very, like, I don't know how to say blasé about death, but when I first, you know, encountered the concept of the tarot of death as a positive thing, and a turning over and a composting, that totally resonated with me, because I've never really, don't say I've never feared death, but like it's never been up there, you know. So maybe that's part of why the idea of getting older is not scary to me, because the idea that my life has a finite length is not scary to me. Just like the idea that relationships have a finite length is not scary to me. I think quality is more important than duration. So that's just like a whole, you know, hodgepodge of like beliefs and ideas about aging and time passing and the life cycle. But I would be curious if this like resonates for any of you, what it makes you think. If you are somebody who has some fear of aging or wishes they were younger or whatever, you know, like tell me in the comments about that perspective. I'm curious, because I don't really know, like, where does it come from? If you enjoy random rambly videos like this, then feel free to like and subscribe. I'm sure there will be more.